This is exercise 12. It's dealing with the leg muscles now. Once again, we're just going to go through these models where we have pointed out some of the major muscles. You need to be familiar with the names of them. Can you identify the location of them? In terms of what type of movement, that all kind of falls into place. If you know the location of the muscle, you know where the points of origin, points of insertion are. When that muscle contracts, you should be able to figure out then what type of movement are you going to observe. So we're going to start with the Quadriceps femoris, this four muscle group. It involves or contains the rectus femoris, vastus lateralis, vastus medialis, and the vastus intermedius, which is deep to the rectus femoris. The movements here help to extend the knee and flex the hip. Once again, as with the arm I had mentioned, that I think it helps in learning the muscles if you find a certain landmark muscle, such as right here, the rectus femoris. Pick whichever one makes sense to you and then start moving in either direction away from that as far as learning the muscles. And as we said, underneath the rectus femoris is your vastus intermedius. So you can see with the muscle removed, you can now see that. The Sartorius muscle is this long thin muscle here known as the Taylor's muscle. Helps you to sit cross-legged. It is the longest muscle in the body. It's involved with flexion, abduction, and lateral rotation of the hip and flexion of the knee. So oftentimes people will use that certainly as a landmark. And then I say orientate yourself, everything from that. The Iliotibial helps to flex the hip. The Adductor Longus is now, as you can see over here, is about flexion and adduction of the hip. The Adductor Magnus, flexion and adduction of the hip. It's this large muscle under here, as the name implies, magnus. The pectineus is adduction and flexion of the hip as well, as you can see pointed out by the arrow. Soleus is adduction of the hip and flexion and medial rotation of the knee. The tensor fasciolate is involved with flexion, abduction, medial rotation of the hip, helps to stabilize the trunk of the body on the thigh when you're standing, helps to stabilize everything. And then you have the Iliotibial Tract, which does extend across the lateral portion of the knee. This shown in white along here. The gluteus maximus helps with extension and lateral rotation of the hip. It does help to stabilize the pelvis. It helps to stabilize the thigh while you're standing. It is a very powerful hip extensor. So it helps, like with climbing stairs, certainly. Excuse me. The gluteus medius is involved with abduction and medial rotation of the hip. It also helps to stabilize the pelvis when walking. In order to see it, you have to remove the gluteus maximus because it's underneath it or deep to it. The hamstrings, this is comprised of three different muscles. You have the biceps femoris, you have the semitendinosus and the semimembranosus, which is back under here. The combination of the three together working helps to extend the hip, helps to flex the knee, and also medial rotation. The triceps surae is actually composed of two muscles. Your gastrocnemius, which is this large muscle, you're looking on the posterior side of the lower leg, and then the soleus is deep to that. So there's actually three different heads because you've got two on the gastrocnemius, one on the soleus, and so that's how that gets the name. The three heads for the triceps, and then the sural region is the calf region, so that's how it gets its name. Once again, use those names together to help you with it. And then from this viewpoint, you can see once again the gastrocnemius, and then here's the soleus here. Helps. Gastrocnemius helps with plantar flexion, knee flexion, and soleus is involved with plantar flexion. Fibularis longus is eversion of the foot. As you can see, it's right here. Fibularis brevis is also involved with inversion of the foot. The extensor digitorum longus helps to extend the toes. Digitorum refers to the digits and the phalanges. So it's going to be helping to extend the toes and dorsiflexion of the foot, as you can see right here. Flexor digitorum longus also helps to flex the toes and plantar flexion. Flexor hallucis longus. Hallux refers to the big toe, so it's involved with flexion of the big toe and also plantar flexion of the foot itself. Extensor hallucis longus, dorsiflexion of the toe and extension of your big toe once again. Tibialis posterior, inversion is the prime mover, and then also plantar flexion. And then tibialis anterior is dorsiflexion is the prime mover, and then inversion as well. So once again, just like with the arm, you just need to go through and practice, whether it's with images, with the model pictures, etc., in being able to label the muscles. Once again, find one muscle. Usually, personally, I find it easier to find one muscle to use as your landmark, and then move left and right from there. Move lateral and medial from there, and learn the muscles that way. Might be a little bit easier.